Welcome back to the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast. We have another episode coming at you here live from the rail. I'm hyped for this one because I've seen this band do a lot of cool stuff in a very short amount of time and put out some really cool music. But today I'm excited to have Moonstone in the building. How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Great now that I'm set up. I appreciate you guys the patience for that and that we were able to make this happen. You know?
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah, I want to, one of the things I always mention in these podcasts is a lot of it, it's I like highlighting bands and showing them off. But the most part is if there's a selfish reason, it's mostly just so I get to know how everything started. But I did do a little digging and just I didn't want to dig too much. So I have some curiosity here. But the first thing I found is that this technically started from trying to start a Paramore cover band. Is that true?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
dig.
right?
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know that, but yeah. Basically, our rhythm guitarist, Ram, who I've been friends with for a long time, I had been kind of out of music for a long time. Lucas has been a producer, and we have our own studio, so he's been doing that for a long time and has been in and out of bands. But I really wasn't doing much until, Ram was like, hey, you guys want to start a Paramore cover band? And I was like, this is actually the perfect opportunity for me to play music without committing to writing and playing shows all the time, I guess. So it was in my mind the perfect kind of little side gig type of thing.
Gotcha.
But then we got to practicing, and then it was okay, I want to do this.
Yeah, we practiced
for real.
one time, and then we went to ACL in Austin, and we saw Paramore play.
Yeah.
And then we were like, okay, we have a studio at home. This is what we want to do. So right away we were like, all right, when we get back, we're
gonna write. We're sit down and write.
Get this thing started.
Yeah.
I love that feeling when you see a band play live and it just inspire or any art form, but
right.
I think I've had it with music too, where you just see a band, either their performance or their writing or something, but live does it for me a lot, where I'll just see something and I'm I gotta do something this. This feeling is amazing, being able to be part of the audience, but being on the other end, the creative end. But yeah, being a cover band is kind of a little bit on the lower risk side as far as you're right, the commitment to the I guess the creative part of it with writing. So it was really just kind of you trying to dip your toe back into music. So you've played in bands before?
I have, yeah. I mean, growing up, we both were in bands growing up, and honestly, it was years of him just being let's record something hello, I have my own studio, why are we not? And there were a couple of things that I recorded here and there, but I'm such a perfectionist that it was really hard for me to accept that it wasn't going to be perfect, I guess, even the stuff that I had recorded previously. So I think that's one reason why I didn't start writing and for myself, is I was really scared to do it again.
Okay.
But yeah, then once we saw Paramore, I was I want to capture this energy, even if it's on a smaller scale. And yeah,
is there any particular reason that kind of frightened from your first experiences with bands? Did it frighten you to make that commitment again?
I mean, yes, yeah. I didn't have much control over writing or appearance and just the whole brand in my past bands. Even as the front. And so I think that was something for me, is I was just nervous of, I don't know, I'm such a perfectionist, and I was nervous that it wasn't going to be right, or it wasn't going to be up to my standards, I guess.
Okay.
She had a very specific image in mind.
Yeah, I did.
And it's not a control thing. She just had a very specific image as what she wanted it to look like, and for it to stay consistent, and what she wanted it to sound like, and wanted the sound to stay consistent. And
and I was also just so out of the whole social aspect of the music scene as well. I'm an introvert, and so that's one thing that really was kind of nerve-wracking for me, is just putting myself out there again and being social, because you have to be, when you're in a band, you have to be social, you have to put yourself out there. So I was really hesitant to do that again. I think that was a big reason too. That's
definitely a big part of it. That social aspect, that is kind of hard. But it sounds like you just had a vision of something that you wanted to do, and it's that's the difference with someone just wants to take over everything, or something's I just know what I want made, to create, especially like as when you take music, I mean, it's an art form, and if you have a specific like vision for it, and from what you're saying, but also like just being able to hear the music and like see all like the visual stuff around it, you can tell that there's a plan for like all of it, like, and it's very like evident. As far as like the cover artwork, the video stuff, like all the photos and pictures and all like the sort of content, like has a definitely a direct like plan to it. Like you can see like someone took time like to visualize this. So it's definitely like it's something that you can definitely tell, and from the outside in.
That's awesome.
I appreciate that.
We love to hear that.
That's what we're going for sure. Like I definitely had a vision going into it, and like he said, just wanted it to be consistent, but also again like that's kind of scary because it's like. Again, you're putting yourself out there, and then like, what if it's not something that piques people's interest? But I feel like it's been pretty good so far. So I'm glad we took that risk. Yeah,
I mean, from what I can tell, like, I'll ask you about it, but from the outside in, the reception seems like amazing. I feel like there's a lot of like support for you. Also. Was there like an existing like support, because you've played in bands before, like were you able to like get those people to come see you? Like
definitely, yeah. I mean, I feel like people were just for me, like people were excited to see that I was back into it, and I think people always got kind of the idea that I wasn't always doing like what I wanted to do in the past, and so I think they were kind of excited to see that I was doing something and like leading it. But we have really supportive family members for sure. But I mean, we have gained a lot of attention even from outside of our friend group and our family members. It's crazy. Like when we released our first EP, that blew me away because I didn't think that we would get any.
Really?
Like I really didn't think like anyone outside of our friends and family would be interested.
We wanted to believe it would.
Yeah,
we
for sure.
Didn't think it would.
Yeah, so.
Well, you hope for the best, right? It's like, but it's always that nerve wracking. It's like at least from like. Like, cause when I was in a band writing music, it's still like, I was like, I love this stuff. He's like, and then there's that little bit of me like, what if nobody else does? But, what is going on, y'all? It's OC, your host for the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast, hosted right here out of the Rail in Fort Worth, Texas. But they're not only the home to the Rail for 2025, but they also host some great events, and I'm going to share with you the February calendar. So starting this Friday, February 14th, we have Peter Dante. If you don't know who that is, that's the dude, the high dude from Grandma's Boy. That's where I know him. He has a music project. He's going to be sharing the stage with Michael Graves, ex-Misfits, and Scotty Austin, formerly known for Saving Abel. I'm so addicted to. I know you know that song. That's going to be February 14th here at the Rail. And then Saturday, February 15th, we're going to have Fighting Words Boxing and Kickboxing here. It's going to be MMA shit happening right here, literally where I'm sitting. There's going to be a ring, and they're going to be fighting and shit. If you like fighting, come hang out at that. And then February 21st, we're going to have the Texas Hippie Coalition playing some tunes here. You guys come check them out. The Rail has been so supportive of the podcast, so if you want to help out the podcast in any way, just come out to any one of these shows here. And have a great time, because you're going to have fun, because you always have fun here at the Rail. But thank you guys for supporting the podcast, and come check out a show. We'll see you soon. But it is nerve wracking. But because I think your EP release coincided with your first show. Is that right? Or
gosh, what was our?
It was before our first show. Yeah.
Yes. So we released our EP in August of 2023, and then we played our first show September.
Wow. Yeah. So right after.
Yeah.
So really hit the ground running, which I think helps a lot, because people have stuff that like, we've heard it, now we can see it live, that driving force. But the shows that I've seen, I know you guys have like a live video for Granada. The crowd looks amazing there. But you've been playing a lot more and more like shows that have been like getting bigger. Like I know later, we'll get into this too, but you're opening up for the Millionaires, right? Which is nuts. And then you're going on your first like little kind of tour, right?
Yeah.
How is that excited. Like from the conception of like, again, EP release in 2023, it's 2025, you're going on the road. How is that like journey been?
Thinking about it, like big picture, it's all kind of unfolded how we wanted to. I mean, I think in 2024, like, we were really anxious to play shows out of state, but I'm glad we spent all of 2024 just building our local audience and our social media, because, yeah, I think one thing that we wanted before we left Texas was just a decent following on Instagram. So that was kind of our goal, is like, all right, by the end of 2024, we hit 10K. We did.
Yeah, it sounds kind of lame, but it was like, all right, we need 10K before we go. And like and organic it's 10K,
so much.
Like,
yeah, I mean, we have decent interactions on our posts, and we have people messaging us all the time, like, hey, come here. Or we actually have people that will come see us, like, out of state. And so that's really cool.
That's cool.
To already have people from outside of our community, listening and wanting to go to shows. So it's unfolded, I feel like, perfectly. Like, the timeline has been great.
Yeah, which is what you want. Like, these are like, when I talk to a lot of bands starting out or whatever level, like, one of my like takes on it is like, that's the people you need to be searching for. Like, it's great to have like family and friend support. Like, that's awesome. Like, it's good to always have that. But what you want to find is who actually like is enjoying you because of your band, because of what you're putting out. Like, who is a fan? Like, who is going to, be excited for the new releases that are coming out, keeping up with what you're doing, go out and buy merch, go out to see you. Like, who are those people? So being able to, and social media has been like fantastic for that, with Instagram and like, TikTok is balancing there. But I mean, TikTok has been a great one for like a lot of musicians to use. And I feel like content is like a big part of like the whole overall vision for like Moonstone. So I think you guys fit like right in and are able to do that. We were talking about that a little bit more. It just, there's a balance to like social media. Like it seems to be like a requirement to do, like depending on what kind of growth you're looking to do. But even record labels now like are only looking at like your socials and stuff like And I was listening to something the other day where it's like, it's not about just like your following, like it's the way you were mentioning interactions. Like, are people actually like talking on this? Like, are you are creating a discussion? Like, are people talking about your music on these things or whatever, interacting with you? Because you see all these accounts with like big followings, but no one's like talking to them. So the organic part of that, or I mean, just real people interacting with your band is what labels are looking for, and I mean, depending on whatever your actual goals are for the band. But even without label talk or anything like that, like you want real people to actually enjoy your music. With how, so I mean, one of your goals was like hit 10K on Instagram for that. So is from the beginning, has social media been like part of like the way you set your goals and with the band itself? Yeah,
definitely. I'm going to speak on this.
Go ahead. He's kind of like,
I'm like the
social media guy.
Yeah. Being, in past bands and stuff, like from early age of, like I was playing Plano Center and whatnot back when Plano Center was a big thing. And, I saw how important it was early on, like from MySpace. And I was one of the early people that like jumped on that train and understood like how this could be just like the craziest tool ever for music. And even though it can be annoying as hell sometimes, but yeah, I think going into that, I was like, guys, this is like something I'm good at. Like, let's use that like right away. And, let's, I like spend countless hours researching ad campaigns and, how to, the best way to target different people and, based off of where you're playing or what you're releasing or what genre it is. And it's such a endless thing, but, it's almost unfortunately just as important as the music today. So so it was definitely a huge part going into it, something that we really wanted to put a lot of energy into.
It's definitely become another added responsibility to like a band, like to again have like this presence online and on stage. Is having either hopefully like most of the members like are able to participate in everything, but at least having one person that is able to understand it and be a driving force. Like I used to think in like bands to be like, there was one person like, all right guys, we gotta write, but like now the added thing is like, all right guys, we gotta make content, like we gotta make something. But there's like so many ways to cater it to the things like your own likes, and I think that's how I've found to not hate it as much, I guess, because I don't really like. I do like creating like little videos and stuff like that. Like it's always been a thing that I like, but it's when I fall to like, I guess the algorithm or whatever is trying to fall to like, okay, I need to fit into these categories.
Yeah.
So instead of like going 90% like what's trending and like 10% the stuff that I just turn it over, and I'm like, I will pepper in trends, but most of the time I'm just making something that I would find entertaining, and hopefully finding the audience that's in the same thing. Because the thing with the internet is like you there's an audience for everything. Like you just have to figure out the right way.
And I think that's what makes the content hard sometimes is like, I think we both love making content, but it's more like, is it content that people are going to like watching? And, you know, are we following the trends? And, you know, what do we have to do for people to watch, basically?
And people's attention spans are so short, too. Because, like, I would love to just upload, like, an hour-long video, like YouTube video.
The first 5 seconds of your video better be the most interesting part of the video.
Yeah, it's always, like, it goes back to, like, even, I mean, when you thought that, like, on YouTube were, like, the clickbait thumbnails and stuff like that. Now it's even a shorter window with like short form content where it's like, you need to grab somebody in right from the beginning. And there's a bunch of ways to look at it, but one of the, I do put a lot of like pressure sometimes on things that I make, and I'm just like, oh, like I want to do this idea, but I'm like, I don't know if I know how to do it exactly where it's going to turn out right. So I end up not doing it. But there was somebody talking, actually, there was just like this one viral video, this girl singing what's she singing? It's like a SpongeBob parody song by Glorb, which is like, he takes AI and makes like SpongeBob voices to make rap songs, and then someone covered it acoustically. But someone was talking about that video, and he's like, I go, this is one of the major parts of like that video. He's like, this is a video that most people wouldn't post because it's dumb. Like they're like, oh, it's silly. Like this isn't gonna like feed the right parts, like based on what you're looking at. But sometimes it's just like uploading that thing you think it's not going to succeed.
Well, our biggest video, I'll let you talk
I know.
on that.
Yeah, so...
Oh, you had an experience like that?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly like that.
There was a video that someone took of us at Trees last April, and we did a cover of All I Wanted from Paramore. And so someone had taken that video, and I was like, wouldn't that be funny if it was like the JoJo Siwa voice where... What is she? Oh, when she's singing the Olivia Rodrigo song. You're
yeah. She gets all red.
So I had put that audio over it, and the caption was just something stupid like, OMG, like JoJo Siwa showing up at shows. People believed it. Yeah. They actually thought she was there.
No, really?
Yeah. So it got a ton of views. Like, it was what, like 50K or something?
No, like hundreds of
thousands.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was all like comments like, oh my God, JoJo Siwa, just so trashy going to local shows. And I had to like put a disclaimer. I was like, JoJo Siwa was not actually at our show. I wish he was, but.
Which the internet doesn't care about the disclaimer.
And then we got, why are you guys making fun of JoJo Siwa? And it's like, whoa.
No, there's no winning online. That's why like it's a lot of like just post and just like let it ride. You know, like coming back and trying to be like, well, like, because it happened to me, I forgot what I did. Oh, I did, same thing. Like, I had one blow up randomly, and it was like, I was like, I'm just gonna like cover random things, and I was talking about Disney put out that pop punk cover album, and I was just like, oh, they're putting this out, like, and I just love Eye to Eye and the Goofy movie is like my favorite Disney movie. So Magnolia Park did a cover of it, so I'm like, oh, they just released that. Disney's releasing it, whatever, and I think I called Powerline, which is the character on Goofy movie, like a legend, and someone like was arguing. He's like, give credit to the real artists and stuff. Like, I was like, I was just like talking, but I'm like, there's no way, because there was like so many, and I'm like, I'm not gonna go and try to defend this. Like, you know, I'm just gonna let it ride. And like and that was like months ago, and it still keeps like every time like there's something like Disney related, like it keeps ramping up every now and again. And I'm like, it's so weird. Yeah,
it's funny.
But yeah, it's a lot of like that. You know, the thing you think is, you know, kind of silly or but I think that goes, I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do, I think, because like people have their certain like images they want to keep up and do, but like me, like I'm always like, I'm fine with being silly like every now and again. It's like it just shows like human character to you, and it's just like, this is funny, like I find this funny or whatever, and put it out, because I've also seen like pages, because I had a friend who's he plays the solo project's called Bloom, and the same thing happened to him where he's like, it's like I was putting like really high quality like guitar playthroughs together and this and that and getting like minimal, and, like, and I put some dumb like video up and it like goes viral.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
I'm like, yeah, so it's a
and then your
balance.
good videos start doing better.
Yeah,
that's
hopefully
true.
it trickles down to like everything else. Where some people like, again, like the people engaged with that, not all of them are stuck around, but like if there's a few in there, like again, those are new people that are sticking around for it.
Yeah.
And that's what helps the most, I think, is creating like those, you know, interactions. It's just very taxing. Like it's like you got to keep up with it and talk to people and interact. But like it goes back to like the social aspect of being in a band, which is, you know, having to interact with people, you know, not only in person now, but it's also like online, like those comments of people like supporting or people like asking like, oh, you know, come over here and play. It's kind of keeping in touch with those people. It's like, all right, like, because I think actually we mentioned like the Set Adrift guys, and they were here not too long ago, but they were talking about because Trey does the little like get ready or like the outfit of the day with his like song, and it's taken off. But he said they're planning to do some touring in the next year, but that's how they plan their tour routes. They found all these people that were like, come here, and they found a few of them in one city, and it's like, okay, like there's an audience here, let's talk to them and see what we can get. And I'm like, that's a great way to find where you're gonna go.
Right.
Yep.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's OC, your host for the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast. And I know what you're saying, another ad on this podcast. Yes, but this one, you can help support the podcast. You might be seeing these beautiful Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast hats here on the table, where they're not just for decoration. We're selling these hoes, okay? This podcast, I don't get paid for this, so I need some money. Let's try to do that again. Less desperate. Yeah, these hats look very cool, and it would be very cool of you to buy one to put on your head and look even more cool than you already do, all right? If you want to tell people that you have impeccable taste, that you listen to all types of music, and you listen to the best podcast in the entire world or tri-state area, or maybe just this area here, this is the best podcast in this room, probably, then you should get one of these hats so that you can help support a local business and a local podcast, and so you can help support artists to come here and talk shit, okay? That's the whole point of this. But yes, go to NoiseROT.com to pick out your Chill Sounds and Breakdowns hat or other merch. We got stickers, we got pins, pick something up, and thank you for supporting the podcast. But creatively, I want to talk. So at first, it just started with you two and Ramses.
And
correct?
Ramses,
okay.
yeah.
Which I've oddly enough, I've known Ramses for like quite a while.
Yeah.
Like he played in New 95, and I met him here, which is crazy.
Oh, cool.
We played a Battle of the Bands, like they should have won, we should have lost, and I don't know what happened. But I've known him since then and been able to watch like what he does. But so it just started at you three. Creatively, I wanted to ask about how is writing together? Because I mean, you two are married, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I wanted to like, what's that writing dynamic like between both of you?
So he actually does a lot of the writing, like instrumentally, because he's always in the studio, like all day,
I spend
every
a lot
day.
of time in the studio.
Yeah.
So it usually, So
we
it
have
usually
probably
starts
like 40, 45 songs that have been written, which obviously not all of those are coming out, so don't expect that.
Drop them now. Comment right now. Drop the songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, basically, as far as our process goes, I usually, at least 2 to 3 times a week, just try to sit in the studio and come up with ideas and stuff. And I'll kind of create a shell for the band. And I'll run it through the whole band. And if she's feeling it, because most importantly, if our vocalist is not feeling it, it's probably not going to work in the end, just because that's the most important part of the song. That's what everybody hears first. That's what everybody wants to listen to. So we run it through the whole band. Everybody kind of comments on it and stuff. And then if everybody likes it, it then goes through her. And she'll practice with it in her car and kind of see if she's vibing with it. If she vibes with it, then she'll track, just
A demo,
like a,
basically.
scratch track of vocals. And then I'll kind of do a little bit of production on it and kind of bring it a little bit to where it would normally be once it's all the way brought to life. And then once we get there, Charisse will come in and overhaul the bass part. Connor will come in and overhaul the drums. Ram will come in and, add any little rhythm stuff that he wants to add or leads in some situations. But that's basically how the instrumentals go. As far as lyrics and melodies and stuff, that's she has a little bit different process for that.
Yeah.
I do want to get to lyrics, but before, on the first EP, I want to get to, since if you do a lot of the instrumentation, there's a lot of like interesting like instruments in like the songs that I just hear like little I don't even know what I just hear like a little block in the back, but I like there's a lot of like that are really cool. Like I don't, it just added like this extra layer of like that made the song like way like more, even more interesting. Is this just like experimenting with stuff that like you were on there, or is this something like you have practice with, like putting them in?
I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, like, you know, when we first started, we like the first song, Still Want More, which we don't even play it anymore. Like I love the song, the rest of the band kind of about it, but you know, we started with that song, and that song took us like 3.5 months to write. Because
to give like some context too, not to cut you off, like Ramses had been in like pop punk. I mean, New 95 was kind of like pop punk, but also kind of hardcore.
You got a little heavy, yeah.
And then he was in hardcore bands, you know, in like 2020, 2021, he was in like a hardcore band. And then I had just done like more like pop punk, but more on the heavier side as well. And so we had never ever written anything like even remotely close to pop or, you know, anything like that. So that first song the whole EP took forever, because it was literally just us, like, we don't know what we're doing. We're just gonna like experiment, you know, until we get it right. And that was the whole EP.
But there's like, you know, when you bounce like a track or bounce a photo or whatever, it all goes to like a folder, and there's like, you know, revision 1, revision 2, or all these different names. Like Still Want More, it was like 95.
Oh my God.
Forever.
Because it was like riff, idea.
Right.
You know, mix 1.
Vocal 1. Like vocal
rearranged.
track.
Like, and it was just, it was crazy.
And there were some songs on the EP where it wasn't like that. Like I feel like Deep End was one where it was like,
standards.
That was easy, you know, standards.
It was really, You Thought and
Say
Still
It
Want
Again
More.
was pretty easy. We got that pretty quickly.
It was really You Thought and You Thought and Still Want More that just like took forever, and that kind of became the epitome of our sound.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're 3 people who come from, I mean, similar yet different backgrounds, and then you've never written together. Like that was a completely like new part of the dynamic. It's not only like, because I mean between y'all two, you were saying like, you know, you always wanted to write with her, and like you're not writing anything together until this project. So it's literally learning everybody what they're writing, and again like figuring out that vision, you know, like so that everybody's on the same page, which is like the most difficult part about like putting a band together, is figuring out like, oh, do we, you know, we might hang out together and we're cool, but like, do we understand each other creatively is a big thing. Early on when I had a band, like we couldn't stop arguing because everybody had to have their like ideas, and it's just like, and it was terrible. Like it was terrible until we like grew out of it and was just like, you know what, like maybe your idea is better, or being able to like you wrote something that I didn't like, and I'm like, okay, like, but is it just me like not wanting to try something out of my comfort zone, like things like that, like, but learning to accept those things and to communicate adequately with people, like creatively, because it used to be like, no, that's stupid, and you know, and never propose the opposite. It's so everyone's just fighting all the time.
It's like being in one big relationship with like 5 people,
basically,
you know, and you just moved in with each other. Like it's
Well, and when we first started, her and I had actually agreed, like, all right, she was like, you're going to write the instrumentals, I'm going to write vocals and, you know, melodies and lyrics, and we're just going to have people to play it. Like, we're not going to get into that.
Like, we are Moonstone. Yeah, that's what our original
That was our original plan. And then, you know, once Ram and Connor came in, we were like, oh, like, we have some great musicians that can really, you know, add a lot to this band.
And we all had really good chemistry too.
Right. And then our original bassist, Sophie, who's awesome, came in and like really, she started kind of writing bass in a different way that I didn't even think to do, like following vocal melodies and more than just like from a pop punk background following the guitar. You know, maybe a little like run at the end of each verse or chorus riff, you know. And then when we got Charisse, who, you know, is classically trained as well, and she just brought so much life to the bass parts, and not only follows her stuff but follows drums and us, and is so good at like bouncing between, you know, arranging with all the other instruments, but still not making it, you know, flashy or crazy out front.
The collaborative part of being in a band is a scary part, but it's also like the most fruitful, like out of all of it. But it's being like open, like again, if you're starting off with like, we're gonna do this like just us, like it's probably gonna take a little bit to pry that like, you know, door open and be like, oh, but then you start noticing like, yeah, this maybe they could write something cool. But what you said is something that like has happened to me directly, is that like, oh, I would have never thought of like to write this way. And that's when I think that's the biggest like eye opener that I ever had, and I think a lot of musicians have with collaborative efforts, is like, oh, like there are other ways to do this other than like the way I'm thinking. Absolutely. And then like, and then you get to like, and then I like that one better. You know what I mean?
Well, like I said, like I feel like especially once Charisse joined, there was just like this chemistry where it was like, even when we were writing like in the studio, it was just like,
well, and I think a big game changer too is In My Room, when Connor did drums for In My Room.
That was like
that's
one of the
when we
first
were like,
songs
okay, we want people to write with us, because he started doing like the very first part of In My Room where he comes in on the hi-hat, he's doing sextuplet blasts on the hi-hat.
Oh yeah.
And
but
he's
it's
a metal
like,
drummer.
but like it's so like, just because they're blasts doesn't mean it's like it's so like
tasteful
rhythmic and tasteful and just quick. And
well, and then Charisse, like we had the song Not As Present like as a demo forever. I mean, it felt like forever. I don't know how long it actually was. And when Sophie left, you know, we were looking for we put out, you know, audition requests, and we got a ton of people auditioning, but she was the first one. And we like already had our mindset. We were like, all right, she's amazing.
Like cancel the rest.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sorry, everybody.
But then we told her, we were like, hey, can you write to this demo? And she did in like a day.
Yeah.
And when I first heard it, I was like,
we sent it to her in the morning, and she sent it that night.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it gave me chills. We had never even met her, and I was just like, this is it. Like that's her. Like she's it.
Yeah.
And as soon as we got her in to practice and to track, it was just that chemistry was like undeniable.
And that was for Not As Present, which is our biggest song up until Just Another Day is catching up very fast. But
So,
and then Ram on his side is so good about like, you know, he's like our showman. He's like he's crazy. He's such a good performer, has so much energy. Keeps people, you know, just keeps their attention so well. But he's also so good at like, you know, when sometimes me, Charisse, and Connor are like getting all crazy with our writing, and he's like, guys, like we got to chill it out. We got to make it like dancey. We got to dial it back. Like we want people to jump and bob their heads. And he's just so good at keeping, you know, that energy that he has live. It definitely shows in our music with all of his, you know, rhythm input.
So it translates over to the writing. But
definitely.
Yeah, from what I'm hearing, like you have all the parts that like you would always need. Like you need someone to tell you, like I was like, it might be a little too much, or even like thinking about, okay, live, like what do we want people to do? That was the thing. Like for a long time, I realized I wasn't paying attention to, and then when you realize like, oh, you can write stuff for the crowd, and it's like it's not a bad. Like I don't know, I was always like very defensive. It's like, no, it's got to be like what I want to do, but it's more fun, like sometimes when you just like have a way to involve the crowd and like make them
like
jump, want to make them sing or something.
Yeah. When I wrote You Thought, where it was like, it's like the instruments die and I say like, what kind of man are you? Yeah. So in my brain, like I was thinking that would be an awesome like crowd participation part. And we had, you know, our first 10 or so shows, like, you know, people were still getting to know us, but now it's like, everyone knows that line.
Yeah,
like, that's exactly what I wanted, you know, for songs like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and that definitely makes sense. Like hearing that song and like seeing like, oh yeah, that seems like that was the perfect place for people to sing along. Like with you. I guess we'll jump into like lyrics. The what kind of like. I mean, I do know the subject matter you tackle, but do you tap into like your own like personal experiences with these, or are you like just kind of writing a story?
I would say a little bit of both, but mainly my personal experiences. I journal and write a lot, and so I feel like most of my lyrics are like first journal entries and then almost more like poems, and then I kind of dissect it and then, make it into a song or a hook. So I would say mainly personal experiences, but there are a few where the perspective changes a little bit, like in Deep End, or even You Thought, like I didn't write about myself. So yeah, a little mix of both.
That, honestly, when you said the journaling thing, that makes sense, because a lot of the songs read as like, makes sense that translation is from like a journal entry. Specifically, like with the latest one, like Just Another Day, like feels like that.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was reading it, like it felt very because I listened to the song a few times, and I was like, cool, like I like this song. And then like I'm very bad as of late as far as like lyrics and stuff. Like I'm just like, yeah, this song sounds nice, cool, it's fun. And then I went through and was reading it, and I was like, oh, like this is very like depression, like I mean, this is kind of what I was getting out of it. I could be completely off.
No, you're right.
But I'm like, oh, it feels like someone speaking like from a place of like recognizing like that they're in a depressed state or something like that, And then the Just Another Day thing, but it read very personally.
Yeah.
Like I literally felt like I was hearing somebody like say the way that, or trying to say that the way that they're feeling at the moment.
And I kind of want every song to be like that. Like it's almost like diary entries. Like even, a more like light-hearted song like In My Room, I feel like it does kind of sound like I'm reading from a diary. Like I like left a note or something. And so I would mainly say it is personal experiences, and I definitely kind of have that process of journaling, and then it's kind of more of a poem, and then once I get the instrumentals for really any demo that we have, that's when I start dissecting and then fitting it within a melody into a melody.
What you have. Yeah. No, I like that idea, and because it's you have. I mean, if you're just journaling, you have a pull that you can go to and be like, this song like reminds you of something that I've already thought about, without having to take a song and be like, all right, now let me think of something. You've already like thought of a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Like, oh, maybe like this song feels like what I wrote the other day, and it's easier to put something kind of together, even if it's not like verbatim or things that you're taking out of this, like the sentiment that you write down. It's like, oh no, let's capture this because that song feels like, what I wrote down. And a lot of people have been like, and journaling's like healthy anyways, like to just get thoughts out. I never like ever like did it, and then like I bought a journal one time, and it's the same thing of like, it's like I put a lot of pressure on like my journal entries at first. So I didn't write anything. I'm like, they gotta sound cool, or they gotta sound like I gotta make sense. Actually, that's probably the best thing. I was like, I gotta make sense in this. Like I have to be logical, and I think, and then so I never wrote anything because I'm like, oh no, well, I'm mad right now, like I don't, or I'm sad or something, and I was like, it's like I don't want to write it down. Well, I mean, and then on the other hand, because I'm like, anytime you write it down, like it's real. Like I don't want to do that.
Right.
And then just doing it, I'm like, oh my God, it's so easy to let go of things if you just like write it down. I'm like, cool, like it's out. I told somebody, I told the journal, and nobody has to read it.
Yep.
And don't go back and read them. I mean, you do for songs, but I went back and I'm like, oh, what am I doing?
No,
like,
I hate going back to read, through things, because a lot of it is just like, it doesn't make sense, or it's just like, I'm word vomiting onto the page. But, I also use my notes app a lot. If I just have like, if I'm feeling something and then that kind of leads to a lyric idea, because I like most of the time when I'm writing lyrics is from like a place of emotion, I guess, whether it's good or bad, so definitely use my notes app too if I want it to be a little bit more structured, I guess, versus just like, I need to get this out right now. So,
okay, that makes sense. I feel like lyricists always have like one of those, or not both, like filled like in different like structures, or just written down. Like I used to always just write one-liners all the time, and then I just had a bunch of one-liners. I'm like, I should have put some context to this. Like, it's like, why did I say
you're going
this?
back and you're like, what does that even mean? Like,
a lot of the
context?
times it was that, or like voice notes with just melodies, and I'm like, what was that? The thing I realized, and for me in my case, is that I would wake up and. It used to be all the time, and I think it was just because I wanted to have this moment where I like found something in a dream, like a melody or something I needed to write about. And I was like, oh, I'm getting up right now and writing it. I did it like 3 times, and every time I woke up and I'm like, this is terrible. Like, so now I just sleep through it. I'm just like, it's fine. Like, I'll think about it like when I'm awake. But yeah, it's really cool. I think I like the bounce back and forth between something that feels a little bit more intense, emotional, maybe in the not so good feelings, but it bounces back to something like very happy. And a lot of the songs like are, again, for the most, before like I went in depth to like lyrics and stuff like that, like a lot of them was like, oh, like nice rhythm, like you can definitely keep up with this. Like, so if, it's still nice to llisten to, but I think I had that experience today with, I forgot what band I was listening to, I think Grayscale. And like the album they just put out, and my fiance makes fun of me all the time because he's like, "You really like just sad music." And I think I heard one song and it was very happy, and I'm like, from them, and it's like the first song or the second song on the album, and I'm like, "Look, I found a band that I really like." It's like, and it's like, and they're writing like happy stuff, and then like I go like 2 songs in, and it's like, oh no, they're sad too, like, but being able to like tackle both like all types of like feelings and still be able to fit it into the specific genre and stuff that you want to create.
Well, and I love that contrast of like happy instrumentals and then like sad lyrics. Like Just Another Day, I feel like is pretty moody instrumentally. I feel like both of those kind of match. But I don't know, like Deep End, I feel like the lyrics are pretty aggressive and I feel like the instrumentals are pretty like happy, bouncy. Yeah. I love that though. I love the I love the contrast of that, Yeah.
I think that's a good mix. So, is the specific like, I mean, I hate like genre talk, but is there a specific like way you were mentioning like pop music? Because I mean, everyone's coming from like a pop punk or hardcore like scene. But is it Moonstone like something that wants to lean more into the kind of pop world?
I think we label ourselves alt pop because it is such a broad genre. Because we do have songs that are more pop punk leaning, like Figured Out. Yeah. That's very, like, the chorus of that is pop punk. Right. I would say the verses are a little bit more pop.
And we have, like, pop punk breakdowns.
Right. Songs. Yeah. But, so I like to keep it broad because I do feel like we touch a lot of corners of different genres. We have a lot of indie, like, straight up indie elements, a lot of pop punk, a lot of, like, dream pop or, like, even bedroom pop. It's hard to, like, I wouldn't label ourselves as, like, just straight up pop. It's so funny because I feel like a lot of people who listen to, like, hardcore or just pop punk music, they're like, oh, you guys are an awesome, like, pop band. Like, they just see us as really poppy. But we definitely...
But then the pop people don't accept
compared to, like, the genre that they're in. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is very poppy.
Listening to, like, bubblegum pop, it's different. So, yeah, it's hard to pin down one genre. And alt pop is so broad that sometimes that can be confusing when we say, But, I mean, I think that's a good thing because I think we have our own sound for the most part. I love artists who blend genres. I think even, like, some of the biggest pop stars are doing that right now. You know, they have a lot of different elements to their music, and I just want to keep it that way. I never really want to, like, lean so far in one direction. I just always want to keep it. And I feel like that way it kind of reaches like a lot of people, because, we're not pop enough to where everyone who listens to pop punk like doesn't like it. And I feel like people who do like pop, we're not heavy enough to like, sway them, like, push them away. So, I think it does capture a big crowd.
Yeah, it's nice when we play like a mixed genre bill or something, which happens a lot in Dallas.
Yeah.
Because we don't have any pop artists really.
Yeah.
True.
Very few.
It's very few. Yeah.
And so you end up on a lot of mixed genre bills, and it's really cool to see the people that do end up, even on a metal to us bill, the people that end up, loving us and buying merch, and we end up seeing them at more shows, which is really cool.
I mean, like the genre talk is always weird. I think having a broad category, or even like just putting something so that like there's some sort of, because like people will always ask. So I used to be like, oh, I need to hyper focus and try to specifically tell everybody everything. So I would be like, oh, it's this and that, maybe this subgenre or whatever. And then I realized the more specific you got, the more people would associate your band with whatever like, oh, I only know one artist that's, you know,
Right.
this genre, so that must be what you sound like. And then be like, I don't like that band, so I'm not gonna like you. So they
Yeah.
would put off. So, but the more broad it is, like, oh, I don't know what that is.
Right.
You'll just listen to it and find out. And again, it leaves you open to be as creative as you want. I mean, all pop to me is like, you know, it's it's a bunch of different ways
Yeah.
that you can do pop. Like, so all of it, I would be okay with whatever like stuff went into, as long as there was some pop influence.
Yeah.
For someone like getting into who doesn't know a specific genre. And the genre bending like happening is just all over the place. And for me, like, it's some of the most exciting stuff when it happens and you don't expect it. And it's like, cool, like they're adding that element into it. I mean, this whole like Chill Sounds and Breakdown started as a festival, as a mixed genre thing, because we like DJ who started he threw like a mixed genre show before we even had NoiseROT or anything, and we were like it was like a wide range of bands, and I'm like, that was fun. Like, it was like, you find like some people were like, again, not everybody's like on board with everything, but one person coming to this like would be like, oh, like I kind of like that, like, and stuck around for like some of the other bands, and now like they have a new fan that maybe wouldn't have gone to their show on their own, you know, or whatever. And then most people listen to music in that fashion anyways, like a wide jump from like, you know, depending on the mood, like you'll jump back and forth. That's pretty much normal, except for like, you know, some very few like diehard people who are like, I'm only listening to this genre and nothing else.
Right.
I don't know, but to me that's boring.
I agree.
I mean, and I think like listening to, from an artist perspective, listening to everything just inspires you more, you know? Yeah.
Well, it's like going, if you're like a pop artist and you only listen to pop, then you're only listening to the new ideas coming from pop. But if you listen to like other genres, then you're hearing like, you know, in the hardcore like world, it's like, oh, I heard this, this element over here. It's not going to translate exactly into this, but I can take this. Like you're saying, like there's some like little like breakdowns into like the songs, things like that. Like, I mean, what Knock Loose, you know, doing like the like reggaeton beat in like one of their breakdowns, you know, stuff like that, like the Sleep Token little like funk thing, like at the end of one of their songs. All these things, like it's cool to see, like it's unexpected, but it's also using it in the what fits the song. Like you're talking about, like, okay, it's got to like make sense in it, but that's just the challenge, you know, when you hear something in some, you know, another genre that, you know, okay, that shouldn't be in whatever we're doing, but like, how do we make it like be in there? And it's, I think it's just fun, and it makes it interesting. It makes writing interesting, and it makes you want to keep doing it.
Exactly.
Because it is an endeavor. Like you were talking at the beginning, like writing is a big like endeavor to take on, to be able to write something that you truly enjoy and that you want to perform, like, you know, every time you play shows. You were mentioning about being a perfectionist. Do you find it difficult to, I mean, you've put out music, so you've found a way to do it, but is it ever like really hard for you to be like, okay, the song's done? I guess it's a question for both of you.
Yeah.
Hers is more like I don't know,
I'm very picky about what, you know, if we have like X amount of demos or whatever, like instrumental demos, and I've tried to write to them, or even if I've put vocals on them, I might be like, that's not going to make the cut. I'm very picky about like what makes the cut.
We're both like that, but at different points.
Okay.
Of the music.
Of the
so
process.
like, I'm the, you know, final stage of mix and master, like perfectionist, I think, and I'll keep going back and figuring out when I have a hard time figuring out, I just need to put this down and get it out, or if it's done or whatever. But she's more of like, after vocals are recorded and vocals are mixed, like she's worried about the instrumentals too, but she's more worried about how her vocals fit and were her takes like what she wanted them to be, mostly more tone wise than
or like the energy of it too. Because I mean, for example, like we were tracking vocals last night on something that I had already recorded that was supposed to be done, and I was like, I just feel like I could like capture the energy a little bit better, and so I went back last night, and it ended up working. Like, it did sound better, but yeah, I am a perfectionist when it comes to that, just like capturing energies or tone, or and then also just like what makes the cut. Like, I'm pretty selective about what I want to put out.
We've had a few songs that are done, and she was like, yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's just like, I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, and it happens quite a bit where people like create like giant projects or like albums and be like, oh, like, you know, such and such songs didn't make it because they just didn't fit, and then sometimes they get revisited later. Sometimes they just like don't see the light of day, and it is kind of hard to, I guess, really get that, I guess, idea, or come to the realization that just happens. Like some songs, it's just like, you know, it's tough because you write something, you're like, it was always like, I want to put like it all out. It all has to go out. And then like really like some of it didn't need to go out. You know what I mean? It's just like, at first it's just, I think, really exciting just to write stuff. But then like, again, with someone like y'all who like have a vision of what this like needs to be for you to enjoy it and like it, then it's going to have that sort of cut. Like, oh, like this, we wrote this song. Like, even if you're like, I wrote this, I like this, but this doesn't, you know, quite fit into this. So yeah, like I said, sometimes people go back to them, and years later you end up with an old song. Yeah, I've seen that a lot, where it's like, oh, this song was like 7 years old, and then we decided to put it on that album because now it makes sense over there, or something like that.
Definitely.
But no, I think that's a good, like, you can, I guess if you want to call it a problem to have, is that sort of like strictness with like your music, and be like, okay, this and that, and the tedious thing, like I run into this with like my friend DJ all the time when he's like mixing, is he's like you, where he's like, I don't think it's done. So there's like tons of just like remixing and like mastering and stuff like that. It's like, oh, well, this can change, and I'm like, I don't know how you do. I mean, that's like his thing. Like I can do that with other things, but with mixing, he's like, he'll listen to it. Like I remember our friend Riker Hobb put out an EP, and I knew all the songs like before it came out, and I never listened to it. It's just this dude was playing the same parts over and over, so I had it memorized by the time like it released. And he was like, "How do you know like these songs?" Like, dude, I've been hearing them like through my bedroom wall like over and over.
Some of the bands, the artists that he records, like I know all of their music. Like I listened to them, of course, but like I knew it before it was released because, like our friends in Basics, he recorded their a lot of their music. And I was like thinking to myself as he was like mixing it and recording it, like I cannot wait until they play a show here in Dallas so I can like scream sing along to their, because I know every word now. Yeah,
that's really cool that you have that availability, and I know it's a lot more common like these, but the having a studio, like to be able to work out ideas, and like again having someone that like is spending most of your time in there anyways, like having an idea and be able to run to each other. That's a cool dynamic in that in itself, like of having like your partner be in the same band as that, and in the same house to be like, I have an idea, can you listen to me? Like it's someone that'll make sense to, you know what I mean? Like, because you run into that sometimes where you're like explaining something to someone who like doesn't have, or they might like want to be supportive, but they don't understand like what you're trying to put through. But like having that person in house who's like, this is a melody idea, or like check out what I just wrote here, and having that conversation back and forth is really cool that you guys have that and have learned to work it and put out some really cool music because of it. But yeah, you guys are hopping on tour again, a few shows. Where are you guys headed?
So our first 2 out-of-state shows are Wichita, Kansas, and then Hays, Kansas. Well, I guess, and then after that, we are playing with Millionaires in San Antonio, and then here in Dallas, and then we'll head back out and hit Nashville, Memphis, and Springfield, Missouri.
I know some of the dates you were doing with Van Full of Nuns, right?
Yeah, so all the dates that aren't with Millionaires are all Van Full of Nuns and Offended by Everything.
Yeah.
Great people.
We love them. We're so
they're
fortunate.
So awesome.
Yeah, because they're very seasoned, and this is our first tour. Like, I've never been on tour before personally. I know Ram has and Lucas has, but yeah, we're glad to have a band as seasoned as they are to just kind of like learn from, I guess.
I would say they're like, as far as like learning, like touring stuff, they have everything down to a science.
And
like
their
we did some like social media work for them. They invited us out to they do their pop punk fest, Pop Punk's Not Dead, and they did it at Buda, and we did like stuff out there. But we did that, and we did a couple other shows, but everything is like on time schedule. We got like all like this information up front, like this is what you need, like everything runs so perfect, like at their shows, and
they're so chill about it too.
Very,
like
very.
they're not, they're so chill about it, and their shows are so successful.
Yeah, they're
like,
really good at marketing.
them.
They're really good at running ads and figuring out who their demographic is going to be in each area. And anytime we play with them, we know there's just like it's going to be a great show.
Yeah.
A lot of people, and I like the concept of what they do, and the crowd that goes out to like their shows is out to have a fun time.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
And like even like having like because I mean the Van Full of Nuns guys like do, which they are putting out a new song like here soon, actually the original, which is cool. But I mean their pop punk nights are like a bunch of cover songs that they do, which an audience is gonna love. But I love that audience is there to have fun. So if you put on Offended by Everything, if like Moonstone comes out, or like I think Neutral Snap played when we saw them, like the crowd is so receptive to them, like to hearing new music, and I'm like, that's a crowd like you want at your show, someone that's ready to enjoy music, like whatever's coming out, and they're so fun, those shows. So I think those are going to be so cool for y'all. And then the Millionaires thing is crazy. Like for me, it came out of nowhere. I never like followed them, but I always knew about them. So that's kind of wild to see them playing shows again.
Yeah, we're so excited.
Yeah,
go pre-save Van Full of Nuns' new song.
Yeah,
I forgot the name of it. I should have put it in here. I didn't have them on. They're super fun. They're super cool. So there was like 4 singles last year, right? I think 4 or 3.
Let's see.
Oh gosh.
And
technically 4 because we released our Hot to Go
cover. The cover.
Yeah.
Which,
so figured out.
That one was so
Grammy.
fun to
Chapel
write.
just won a Grammy.
Oh no, we had 4. We did have 4. Because Figured Out, In My Room, Not As Present, Just Another Day, and then
Just Another Day
came out this year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Close enough.
Yeah. Well, they were all part of like that.
Yeah.
But is that because those were like singles that were released throughout last year and then this year? Is there a plan for more music to be come out this year? Is that secret? That top secret?
It's not
I don't want to mess with the
secret.
vision.
It's not a secret.
We announced it at Trees. We haven't announced it on social media, but we will have a full-length album.
Oh my God. Hold on. I have the perfect thing for this. This is the only reason I paid 99 cents for this thing. Okay, say it again.
I said we haven't announced it on social media, but we announced it at Trees. We will have a full-length album coming out this year, hopefully during summer.
I just realized I was playing in my glasses. Wow, I just ruined that bit. Anyways.
Can add it in post-production.
There you go.
That's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
That's exciting as hell. Like, so, I mean, yeah, that's cool. I feel like there's still like some secret stuff to it, but I'm super excited for that. I feel like that's where like the ramp up has been going, and what probably like everybody that you've all the new fans and stuff that you gain like probably really want like at this point is something like that.
We've been
and it's definitely like a creative endeavor to take on a full length album, and for most artists it's like that's what you want to work up to create like an album and a cohesive project. But yeah, seeing everything from the first EP to like the songs and seeing the way that they're just like progressing and developing, like in even like as the maturity in a band in such a short amount of time, like you can tell with like Just Another Day, like, and seeing like from the beginning like just the progression of like the creative process that you see and how like they are advancing, even just sounding, even like maybe even just like more work like with you like doing like the producing and stuff like that, like it just getting better and better. And I think the album is just going to be something I don't even know like where to put it up here. I just know I'm excited.
Right.
You have a name for it? That's secret.
It's actually self-titled. Yeah.
I have a really easy question. Is the dot part of the period part of the name?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
All lowercase with period.
All lowercase with period. All right, cool. I was like, I want to know if like I'm gonna mess it up.
Yeah, it's always like every time we get a show flyer, we're like, is it gonna be lowercase? Yeah. Are they gonna add the period?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then one time somebody did all uppercase with an exclamation point. And we were like, really?
He's like, this is gonna be better. It's like, let me elevate your logo really quick. Yeah. That's what Moonstone needed is an exclamation point. Yeah. No, I am hyped. Thank you guys for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Like I said, we've been fans. I think the first time I saw you was at Tulips, and
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
I think I was walking in and heard. I think you were covering a Paramore song, which is funny that it all like started with wanting to do a Paramore song, but Paramore cover band. But I remember hearing that, and I'm like, who is singing? And like, because as a vocalist, obviously, like, and most people, like, that's the first thing you're drawn to.
Right.
But I was just like, what, like, is that? Like, I needed to go, and then I watched the rest of the set, and that's where you could tell, like, where you're talking about, like, the band chemistry and stuff like that. It just looked so fun. And, like, not only, like, I mean, the band up there having fun, and then the people, like, the audience having just as much fun. And again, it's all about just that feedback effect, and it just keeps going back and forth.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I enjoyed it, and after that, it's like, okay, Moonstone's staying on the radar, like, for now. But no, I'm super excited, like, for what the future holds for y'all. Like, hope touring goes great, which I know it will. Those shows are going to be fun, and the new album, let us know when that
Yep.
is
We're
happening.
so
If you guys need
excited.
help, like, with any type of, like, promotion, stuff like that. There's a few ideas we're floating around, so if you
For sure.
want to participate in any of those,
Yeah.
like, for promotion, like, we can talk about it.
Yeah,
For sure.
definitely.
But yeah, thank you again for stopping by. This has been episode 130 with
Wow.
Moonstone, all lowercase with a period here at the rail. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. We will see you next time.